Hey everybody, I'm John and this is Blind Whiskey Reviews. Hey everybody, and thank you so much for joining me here today on Blind Whiskey Reviews, the most honest reviews on YouTube. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. That way you'll know every time I drop a new review. Today we're going to be reviewing the Russell's Reserve 10-year-old from Wild Turkey. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and I'm super excited to do this one for you today. And one of the reasons I'm excited is because this one came at a really appropriate time. My little nephew Russell was just born a couple weeks ago, so I'm super excited to do this review of this whiskey because I want to dedicate this one to him. So, little guy, this one's for you. Let's get to the review. All right, let's get into the whiskey. As always, let's start with the color. We've got kind of like a light to medium amber color. Getting the nose. Some sweetness up front. Big like caramel brown sugar, a little bit of fruitiness in there. I'm going to say we're on like it's like a cherry sweetness. Maybe even some lighter fruits. Apple or almost like a peach quality to it. Smells decent. Let's get into the taste. Cheers. Mild burn on the tongue, not much going down. The same kind of sweet flavors on the front of the tongue, moving over the palate. Definitely tastes like we're back in the good old US of A. If you didn't see my last two reviews were my first two reviews that I did of whiskeys, or one was a rum, one was a whiskey, that were not from the US, so that was fun to do. But I feel like we might be back in the good old US of A here. A lot of sweetness on the front of this one. And a lot of this is the same characters I was describing on the nose. Caramel, brown sugar, kind of your typical bourbon flavors. Very sweet though. And kind of mild, but a decent amount of flavor. Brown sugar, caramel, a little bit of that fruity sweetness. I'm trying to see if I can pick up on some characters of age like oak, and I'm not getting much of that. It's not too incredibly harsh. At first there was a bit of a harsh burn on the tongue. So maybe this is a bit of a younger whiskey. Now that I go back to the nose, definitely more fruit character on the nose now that we're moving back. Cherries, apples. Yeah, it's not getting a ton of oak character or anything. Not a lot of bitterness, so I'm going to say this whiskey isn't too old. But it's good. You don't get, too much of the young characters. You don't get too much of a harshness to it. It was a little harsh on the tongue for a second at first, but not too bad. Definitely nothing going down. I'm going to say it's a low proof whiskey. We're in the 85 to 90 range maybe. 85 maybe. I'm going to keep it at 85. It's good. Last taste here. All right, so I'm going to give this whiskey, it's got good flavor. It's smooth, it's mild, but there's a decent amount of flavor to go with that mild character. It's not too much of a burn, not too harsh. So for what it is, I'm going to give it 82. I think it's good. Let's see what it is. Wait! We forgot the water. We'll give it a little bit of water here real quick. See if it opens up at all. It's funny, as I add more to these reviews, I keep forgetting to do stuff. In the rum review, I forgot to give it a rating while I was doing it. So, give this just a second to kind of mingle in there. About the same on the nose. If anything, maybe it brought a little bit more of that fruit character out. It's still definitely very sweet smelling. Definitely brought it down too much on the palate. It's not really bringing too much more out of it. It just dulled it down, which for me, I don't enjoy. So I definitely, for whatever this whiskey is, I wouldn't add water to it. It didn't really do anything to help it. It didn't bring out any other nuances or flavors. So let's see what it is. 2 papers. There's an old one stuck in here. Russell's Reserve. So I don't know which one this is. So let me go grab the bottle and we'll find out. All right, we just finished our review of the Russell's Reserve 10-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. This is 45% alcohol, 90 proof. For those of you who aren't familiar, which I'm sure there's not too many of you out there, this is a Wild Turkey product. It is the kind of the select version of whiskey chosen by the master distiller Eddie Russell and his father, who was the former master distiller Jimmy Russell, who's kind of one of the most famous people in the world of bourbon. He's, I think, I don't know what they call it, the master distiller emeritus or whatever it's called, where he kind of has an honorary position there. He's not functionally the master distiller anymore, but he's still around and doing his thing. And you still see him all the time, all over the place, doing signing bottles and talking to people about Wild Turkey. So it's super cool to see. I've had this whiskey many times before. It's a favorite of mine. This time when I was doing the review, I didn't pick up a lot of the characters I normally picked up. You know, Wild Turkey is normally a very, it's a higher rye mash bill, which leads it to be a higher, more spicy bourbon. And I didn't get a lot of that when I was tasting this particular bottle. Although I will say that in the past, and I've noticed this a few times, is that Russell's Reserve changes drastically from when you open it. Give it a few weeks and it tastes much different, and typically it tastes better. And not that, I mean, you saw my review, I gave it a pretty good rating. I thought it was good, and not that it tasted bad, but I feel like every time I've had Russell's Reserve, it always improves over time. So I will definitely follow up with this one and see if it's getting a little bit better. And I think I mentioned this in a way previous review, but I've had bottles before that tasted terrible when I opened them, or at least one bottle of Russell's Reserve that tasted like a dirty Band-Aid. And maybe a month or 2 later, ended up tasting amazing. So definitely, if you get a Russell's Reserve bottle that doesn't taste great, give it some time, because I guarantee it's turning into something fantastic. Because I'm a huge fan of Wild Turkey. I love their products, and this is no exception. So in terms of value, I think this bottle, I'm trying to remember what I paid for this particular one. I think they typically go for right around $30, and I think that's about what I paid for this, maybe a couple bucks less. I was able to pick a few of these bottles up at one point in time at Costco, where they blew them out. For whatever reason, they screwed up the pricing and put them out for 20 bucks. So I grabbed a couple of them then, but I don't think this is one of those. I think I paid closer to $30 for this one. So in terms of value, for a 10-year-old product at a 90 proof alcohol level, you can't go wrong. As far as I'm concerned, this is a great whiskey. I'd buy it anytime. In terms of the review, though, I did forget to mention that it is 10 years old, and I didn't pick that up when I was doing this review. I didn't get a lot of those woody, oaky characters I would expect of a 10-year-old whiskey. So, again, didn't taste like it, but again, it was a good whiskey. So, anyways, if you've had Russell's Reserve 10-year-old, please don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of it. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow me on @blind_reviews on Instagram and Twitter. You can send me an email at blindwhiskeyreviews@gmail.com. And until next time, cheers.